Have you ever reached the end of your day feeling completely wiped out? Even if, you spent most of it just looking at a screen.
Oh, absolutely.
That kind of persistent mental exhaustion, right? Focus feels scattered. You're just overwhelmed by what seems like endless decisions.
Hmm.
It's that nagging question so many of us have. Why are we all so tired all the time, especially when we've got all this amazing digital convenience?
It's such a common feeling, isn't it? You're surrounded by smart apps, advanced tools, constant connectivity, all promising to make life easier, more productive.
Yeah, promising is the key word there.
Exactly. But the reality for so many people is, well, this pervasive mental fatigue, a constant struggle to just stay focused, feeling drowned by decision after decision.
It really is. And that's precisely the phenomenon we're diving into today.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission for this deep dive is to try and unravel this idea of mental fatigue designed for digital wellness. We want to give you a shortcut to understanding the sometimes surprising ways our digital world shapes our minds.
And to help us navigate this, we're drawing on a really insightful article by Prakash. He's a UX design strategist and business transformation partner.
Okay.
And his work really explores how we can tackle this mental fatigue, not just by adding more tech, but by deeply integrating human-centered design, psychological insights, and even some pretty imaginative futuristic thinking.
And this isn't just for, tech insiders or designers, is it?
Not at all.
If you use a smartphone, work on a computer, interact with any digital tool, really,
Wow.
this deep dive is for you.
Right.
We're aiming to provide some actionable insights, maybe some fresh perspectives on how you engage with technology now, and, crucially, how technology could be designed to genuinely support our well-being.
Prakash really kicks things off by pinpointing a crucial distinction. He says the core problem isn't just the sheer amount of screen time.
Oh, interesting. Because that's what you always hear, right? Just cut down screen time. Right.
Exactly. But he argues the real issue is how these digital environments are designed, fundamentally, and the ways they interact with, well, the human mind. The convenience is there, absolutely, but it often comes with this unseen cost to our mental energy.
Okay, so if it's not just about more features or faster speeds, what's the alternative? How does Om Prakash suggest we approach this?
He really emphasizes needing a much deeper understanding of human behavior. He believes we can actively combat this fatigue by using solid psychological insights and rigorously applying human-centered design principles, right? HCD. It's about building technology for us, with our well-being not just as an afterthought, but right at the core.
And for listeners who might not be super familiar with human-centered design, could you give us a quick rundown? What does that actually involve?
Sure. So human-centered design, or HCD, it's a creative problem-solving approach. Puts the user right at the center of everything.
Okay.
It typically starts with empathize, really getting a deep understanding of user needs, their behaviors, maybe their frustrations or pain points.
Makes sense.
Then you define the core problem from that user's perspective. After that comes ideate, where you brainstorm potential solutions. Then you prototype those ideas, make them tangible somehow.
Like mock-ups or early versions.
Exactly. And finally, you test those prototypes with real users, get feedback, and then you refine it based on what you learned.
Got it. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test.
Right. And Prakash argues that this structured user-first approach, when you combine it with a strong grasp of psychology, is absolutely key to creating digital tools that aren't just functional, but genuinely support our mental health.
Okay, so with that framework, HCD plus psychology, what are some of Om Prakash's first, maybe more immediate solutions for tackling this digital fatigue? Where does he suggest we start?
Well, he opens with a really brilliant concept, I think. He calls them digital nutrition labels for apps.
Like on food.
Exactly like on food. Think about it. We might check calories or sugar content, but we rarely have any clue about the mental exhaustion or the cognitive cost our apps are generating.
That's so true. So the problem is we're kind of consuming digital stuff blindly without knowing its impact on our, mental diet.
Precisely. And the psychology here ties directly into cognitive load theory. That's the total mental effort we're using at any one time.
Okay.
And also decision fatigue. That's the idea that our decision-making quality drops after we've made too many choices.
Right. I felt that. End of the day, can't even decide what to watch.
Exactly. When we're constantly switching tasks and apps, processing info, making tiny decisions, click here, swipe there, our cognitive load just skyrockets. And that leads straight to that mental exhaustion.
So the HCD part here would be defining this lack of info, ideating the label, testing it out.
Right. Define, ideate, test. How do you present this info clearly?
So Omprakash imagines a label that actually shows the cognitive impact. Like his example is, you spent 23 minutes. Mood impact, make of 2. Focus breaks, 4 times. Sleep delay, 17 minutes. Wow, that's specific.
It is, isn't it? And that's the power. It enables conscious digital consumption. It shifts you from passive use to active, informed choice.
It's about designing transparency into our digital diet so you can see the real cost of your clicks.
Exactly. Make better choices and actively cut down on that decision, fatigue, and cognitive overload.
Okay, that's a strong start. Building on that awareness idea, he then talks about how we use energy during the day. He calls it the focus rhythm dashboard, like a cognitive calendar.
Yes, and this tackles the problem that, well, many of us struggle to align our important tasks with our natural energy peaks.
Oh, yeah.
We often force ourselves to do intense thinking when our brains are actually better suited for maybe lighter stuff,
Yeah,
routine tasks.
definitely. My 9 a.m. brain is not my 4 p.m. brain. Not even close.
Right. The psychology behind this is partly circadian rhythm, our body's natural 24-hour cycle affecting energy and sleep, and also flow theory. That's the state of being completely immersed and focused in an activity where you lose track of time.
Ah, the flow state. Everyone wants that.
And it's much easier to achieve when you're working with your internal clock, not against it. So for this, the HCD would involve empathize understanding user rhythms, then define how to show it, and prototype the dashboard.
So the dashboard might suggest something like 10:12 a.m., best time for critical thinking. After 3 p.m., good for emails and reviews. It was like a personal mental coach, yeah.
It is. And it could significantly boost productivity by helping people get into those flow states more often. Aligning tasks with your natural rhythm means more efficiency and way less mental strain.
Working smarter, not harder, by listening to your biology. I like it.
Precisely.
Okay, his third idea sounds like something we all desperately need right now. Notification therapy. Mindful interruption design.
Oh, yes. We can all relate to the problem here, can't we?
Yeah.
The constant stream, the barrage of notifications.
It was
They fragment our attention. They create this reward loop where we impulsively check our phones, and they seriously damage our ability to do deep, sustained thinking.
So it's not just annoying, it's actually making us less effective. I've definitely felt that. Like
Yeah.
a mental tab stays open after an interruption. Is there a term for that?
There is. The psychology Amprakash points to is attention residue.
The tension residue.
When you switch tasks, part of your attention literally stays stuck on the previous task, which lowers your performance on the new one.
Wow.
And yeah, Pavlovian conditioning is also involved. Those pings train us, like Pavlov's dogs, to compulsively check our devices for that little hit of novelty.
So the HCD here would be defining this interruption problem, thinking up new notification patterns, and testing how they affect focus.
Exactly. Define, ideate, test.
So instead of, say, 20 little pings throughout the day, Omprakash suggests maybe one single digest, 6 updates, review at 4 p.m., something like that.
That simple shift could dramatically reduce attention residue. It gives users back control. It's to decrease anxiety and really improve task performance because you're not constantly being yanked out of deep work. It's about intelligently bundling the noise into moments you control.
That sounds revolutionary, honestly. Okay, and the last of his sort of immediate actionable ideas, micro-restorative moments. AI-triggered mini breaks. This sounds great for anyone, like me, who feels guilty taking a break.
Right. The problem is our brains actually operate on something called an ultradian rhythm.
Ultradian. Okay.
It means we naturally need a break, roughly every 90 minutes or so during intense mental work. But our always-on culture makes people feel guilty or like they don't have permission to step away.
I know that feeling, like stepping away means you're slacking off.
Exactly. But the psychology, including restorative theory, is crystal clear. These short breaks are essential for mental recovery and for keeping performance high.
So we need them.
We absolutely need them. The HCD steps here involve empathize with that guilt, prototype ways to automate break triggers, and then iterate based on whether they actually help.
So you can imagine maybe a wearable device sensing eye strain or long focus, and it gently prompts you, take 3 minutes to breathe. Screen's dimming now.
Yes. And that's incredibly effective because it weaves rest right into the system itself. It respects the body's natural recovery needs. It helps restore clarity, focus, mood, without making you feel bad about it. It's like built-in self-care. The system encourages recovery.
Okay, those first 4 ideas feel pretty grounded, like things we could maybe see happening soon. But you said he gets into more futuristic concepts, too.
He does, and this is where it gets really fascinating. Still very human-centered, but definitely looking further ahead. They're rooted in some deep psychological principles.
All right, lay it on me. What's first?
His first future concept is the cognitive climate engine. Essentially, emotionally responsive spaces.
Emotionally responsive spaces, like the room reacts to how I'm feeling.
Kind of, yeah. The concept acknowledges how much our physical environment impacts our emotions and our thinking.
Okay, that sounds very sci-fi. How would that even work?
Well, it sounds futuristic, but the psychology is real. Emotional contagion, how emotions can spread between people.
Right.
And environmental design, which is intentionally shaping spaces to influence mood and behavior. So the HCD here would be heavy on the ideate and prototype phases. Really complex stuff.
And his example was, if your voice gets tense in a meeting, the room might subtly shift. Calming light, cool air.
Exactly. He uses tech to create environments that actively help regulate stress in real time. Technology becomes less of a passive tool and more like an active emotional partner.
Wow, imagine your office actually helping you stay calm.
Think how much less stressful and maybe more productive that could be.
Okay, what's next on the future list?
Temporal bubble mode. He calls it cognitive shielding.
Temporal bubble mode. I like the sound of that. Sounds like exactly what I need when I really need to focus.
That's the core problem it addresses. How hard it is to get truly dedicated, uninterrupted time for deep work in our digital world. We're always being pulled away.
Always. So what's the psychology behind this bubble?
Two key ideas. Primarily, ego depletion. The theory that our self-control, our willpower, is like a muscle that gets tired. It's finite.
Okay, I feel that depletion daily.
Right. And the other is deep work theory, which stresses how vital focused, uninterrupted concentration is for high-value, cognitively demanding tasks. So HCD would define that need for focus, test different shielding methods, and iterate.
And the example is brilliant. You hit deep focus mode, instantly, apps go silent, maybe the background dims, calming music starts, creating a protected zone for your brain.
Yes. What's really powerful is that it automates willpower. Instead of you fighting distractions with your tired brain,
The system does it for you.
exactly, it makes it easier to slip into and stay in deep work. Removes the friction.
Okay, one more future concept.
The last one, and perhaps the most futuristic sounding, is the digital nervous system, a wearable emotional feedback loop.
Digital nervous system, wow.
This taps into the idea that our bodies often show stress signals, physically, before our conscious mind even registers them. So Prakash asks, what if tech could intervene right at that early physiological stage?
So like my smartwatch knows I'm getting stressed before I even realize it. That's kind of wild.
It is. The psychology involves biofeedback, learning to control bodily functions by monitoring them, and self-regulation theory, which is our ability to manage our thoughts, emotions, behaviors. HCD would need to empathize with those early stress cues, ideate helpful responses, and test if they work.
And the example he gave was, your smart ring detects rising stress. And maybe your phone screen switches to grayscale automatically and offers calm as audio.
Right. This kind of system could build incredible awareness and give you real-time control over emotional triggers. It empowers users to regulate stress proactively.
Moving from just reacting to stress to actively managing it.
Exactly. Technology becomes an extension of our self-awareness and self-care.
So pulling all these ideas together, the new term labels and dashboards, the futuristic bubbles and responsive rooms, what's the bigger picture? What's Prakash really trying to tell us? Designers, innovators, just users of tech?
I think what Prakash makes powerfully clear is that designing for human wellness isn't like a nice-to-have anymore. From innovators for designers, it's becoming a fundamental responsibility.
Okay.
He emphasizes that psychology gives us the why we feel fatigued, why interruptions derail us. And human-centered design gives us the practical how, the process to systematically solve these really complex human problems in tech.
It really sounds like he's calling for a genuine shift in how we think about technology's role. Not just what it can do, but what it should do for us.
Absolutely. His closing thought really sums it up. He says the future of innovation isn't just about more tech or even just faster, smarter tech. It's about creating more humane tech.
More humane tech.
He foresees this fundamental shift in design philosophy, moving away from just designing for engagement, which often means keeping us hooked at any cost,
Right, keep scrolling.
and moving towards designing for energy, for genuine human emotion, and for deep empathy.
So the next big leap in tech won't just be technical, it'll be human, calmer, kinder, designed for the soul, as he put it.
It's a really powerful call to action, isn't it? For anyone shaping our digital future. Prioritize well-being, inner peace, not just clicks and metrics.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, we've covered a lot. From understanding things like cognitive load and attention residue, to exploring concrete ideas like digital nutrition labels, focused dashboards, mindful notifications, and even automated micro breaks.
And we've peeked into a possible future where technology might actively help us manage emotions, protect our focus, and create truly responsive digital environments.
So we want to leave you with a thought, really drawing from Prakash's work. Have you felt this kind of mental fatigue lately? Which of these ideas, maybe the labels, the focus timer, the bubble mode, resonates most with your own digital life or your workplace?
Yeah, maybe consider how these insights could reshape your personal relationship with tech, or how you might advocate, even in small ways, for design that truly puts human well-being first. Because ultimately, knowledge is most valuable when we understand it and can apply it, right? And critical thinking is just so essential as we navigate this incredibly information-rich, digitally saturated world we live in.